Look, everyone I believe that I know in life has someone like Patrick Beverley to Russell Westbrook. Okay, and by that I mean most of us can work with anybody, but there's always that one guy or that one girl. We have that even with our exes, right? You can date anybody, just not him. You can date anybody, just not her. You can hire anybody, just not them. And when you hire that person, when you date that person, when you talk to that person, when you invite that person to a dinner, a function, a party, the person who hates them. And I know hate is a strong word. It just is. Like I don't hate anybody except him. I don't hate anybody except her. Right? It's a strong word. But if that one person gets invited with everyone knowing how you feel about that person, it shows you either they don't care or they don't actually want you around. Patrick Beverley has long opined about playing with LeBron James. Okay. Long opined. But an even longer period of time, Patrick Beverley has had this beef. Matter of fact, it was April of 2013. Okay? April of 2013. It was in the first round of the playoffs. Okay? And if you think that he's forgotten about it, in the very next meeting, a year later, because Russell Westbrook was out for the entire playoffs in 2013 after that injury against the Houston Rockets. Beverley tried to slap the ball out of Westbrook's hands. The next time they played, Beverley was given a technical. Westbrook was livid. 4 years later, in the first round again, they had another on-court beef. In 2018, this is 5 years after the initial entanglement, which led to the first of 4 knee surgeries for Russell Westbrook. That's when Westbrook repeatedly pulled out the rock the baby celebration when he would score on Patrick Beverley. In 2019, he continued the beef, saying, and it's on video, saying he tricks you into thinking he being Patrick Beverley, tricks y'all. You think he plays defense. He don't guard nobody. It's just running around. Later in 2019, Patrick Beverley fouled out guarding Russell Westbrook. Westbrook waved goodbye. In 2022, that's earlier this year in February, during Russell Westbrook's darkest time as an NBA player, he tweeted out, I remember when somebody said, all I do is run around. I trick y'all. Well, my boy is the real magician this year. He was talking about Russell Westbrook, talking about it. So this beef has never died down. Everyone knows it exists. It's 9 years old. Russell Westbrook plays like he hates everybody, but everyone knows the guy he hates the most is Patrick Beverley. And look, I think that brings an incredible amount of value to a player. That actually, you have value in basketball if you're the guy that everybody hates. I've said this about Draymond Green, Matthew Dellavedova, Patrick Beverley. I kind of go through the list. Marcus Smart is one of those guys, where you got to have one guy that everybody on the other team hates and wants to fight. It gets a couple of guys or even one guy off their game. That is Patrick Beverley. But you know what you don't want? Him to get one of your highest paid players, a former MVP, off his entire season. So when you hire that guy, when you date that guy, when you hang out with that guy, when you invite that guy to a party, or in this case, when you trade 2 players for that guy to bring him onto your roster, even if it creates cap flexibility for next year, which it does, even if he fits what they need somebody to guard, stay away from the basketball and shoot it. Patrick Beverley's not going to win you a championship. He makes you a slightly better team. He's a slightly better fit than what you got and what you trade away. But Patrick Beverley tells you all you need to know about how they feel or care or think about Russell Westbrook in the future. I'm not sure what's worse. Right? If they didn't care that Westbrook couldn't stand him, right? Or that they didn't know Russell Westbrook couldn't stand him. Not sure what's worse. Either way, it's pretty obvious they didn't run it by Russ. Either way, pretty obvious it opens the door to trade Russ. Makes you think that Indy trade is much more viable, right? To bring in Buddy Hield, to bring in what's the name of the shot blocker? Texas. God, what am I forgetting? I'll think of it. Miles Turner. Makes you think that is much more likely to happen than unlikely to happen. But, man, what does it say about Russell Westbrook when LeBron welcomes in a guy who's your arch enemy? Rob Pelinka trades for a guy who's your arch enemy. Anybody on the Lakers who told Russ that Russ was important to them, all those words just become word salad today. Because to you and me, to Jay Stu, to Muncy, to Ramos, to Laker fans, you're like, look, we just look at it in a linear fashion. Did you get better or did you get worse? Who won the trade? I think it's great for Talen Horton-Tucker. He'll get a chance to play. Same for Stanley Johnson, right? Both will get a chance to play as it looks like the Jazz are hitting complete reset. Makes you think that Donovan Mitchell is likely to go. But, and a big, big but, not taking into account Russell Westbrook's one guy you can't trade for mentality. Tells you all you need to know about his current status with and future with the LA Lakers. I guarantee, Jason Stewart has worked with just about everybody. And I actually know who that guy is in his world. You don't have to mention that name. He doesn't work with us or in any of our group, local or national. I know who that guy is, who your guy is. The one guy, that's the guy. I can work with anybody, just not him. Everybody has that guy, don't they?
Exactly right. You're right. I hadn't even thought about that. If Scott Shapiro called me today and said, I've hired this guy, then I should take that as a sign of, okay, well, that obviously means you don't want me in the building.
Right. You're not taking any at all into my account what my feelings are, what my work experience is, how I feel about said guy. You and I are talking about the same human being?
Oh, yeah.
Ramos is the one guy I'm not sure if he has that. I do think he has. Yeah, you do?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Had you previously worked with him at Fox Sports Radio?
It's not as sports. It's my previous work in talk radio.
Wow.
Before I started in sports radio, I did about 15 years of talk radio, just generic talk.
So again, Scott Shapiro comes in and goes, Ramos, just so you know, heads up, you're now going to be technical director for...
blank, blank.
Yeah, you'd be like...
I'd be like, no thanks.
Didn't you? And then it was like, didn't you work with him once? Yes, I did.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't even ask. You didn't ask. So, Monsi, you haven't been doing this long enough to hate people. You like everybody. You're just way too nice.
Oh, Doug. You're right. Not sports radio, but I have worked in sports for a while, and there is definitely somebody that I would only take the job if I was this person's boss. Can I ruin their life? Done. I'll take it.
Oh, jeez.
I like it. No,
I'm being honest.
I thought, listen, Joy Taylor has a great way of explaining this about women. that they don't forget what they do is they put it up in the cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like a spice rack. When they have something, they just open up that spice rack and go like, oh, yeah, I remember. Here's my grudge I hold against that person. They don't hold on to grudges. They just put them up in the cupboard every once in a while to break it out. But I'm sure there are guys that if one of your girlfriends says, "Hey, I'm going out with such and such," you're like, "Wait a second, like you don't." That means you completely don't respect at all what I think or my experiences with said dude is. Right? We all have that. That's what Patrick Beverley represents to Russell Westbrook. That's the sign. That's all the sign you need that they either don't care, don't know, don't want to know, or don't want anything to do with Russell Westbrook. And if it's not that, then then it's even worse. Then they've grossly miscalculated and don't even understand the nature and the level of the beef, which I don't believe to be possible.